Pro Football Today is live on SportsGrid. It is great to be with you here on a Sunday morning. Kevin Walsh and Joe Lisi. Joe, we're getting close, man. We're getting close. 2 big games today.
Yeah, I'm excited, Kevin. But, the 3 o'clock game, I think, is the more intriguing one just because we want to see if Jarrett Stidham potentially can live up to the hype and potentially lead this team as a backup quarterback to get to a Super Bowl. It does have Drake May in New England trending right now. And I like both totals, but something tells me it wouldn't shock me if we have a similar outcome to what happened last week, Buffalo and Denver. And again, where the game goes to overtime, it's a nail biter. I just think, again, as good and as consistent as Drake May in New England has been, the key to any game is turnovers. Who wins the turnover battle? And that's where Denver, playing at home, does have an advantage.
So you think that game might have 60 points in it? No, I'm just checking. I'm just trying to see what game you're playing. That's all. I'm just trying to get a glimpse.
Put it this way: it wouldn't shock me if the game got into the 50s.
Okay, it would stun me. It stunned me.
It would stun you?
Stun me.
Come on. Really?
If they both scored 20, it would stun me.
You're joking.
No, I'm not joking. I'm being serious. I'm being serious. Okay. I think the game's a bang under.
Bang under.
Bang under. 30 total points.
Interesting. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right. Now the radar's locked on its target. We got it. Okay. No infrared or anything. No laser. We got it right here. No, dead under. That's it. Why play the game? You got it all figured out with this.
Listen. Here's what you do then, Joe. Tag the over with a couple of your usual guys that come in for you.
Ingram. Ingram.
Yeah. I'll tell you,
I'm doing intel as we speak. We're doing intel as we speak.
Look at this. The Trout. Whoa, he's a live one. All right, let's talk a little NFL coaching update here. The Pittsburgh Steelers have hired Mike McCarthy. In one word, why? In multiple words, that's a tough one. I just think here's the problem with this for me, truly. I don't see any world in which Mike McCarthy wins a Super Bowl as the head coach of the Pittsburgh Steelers. And that pretty much makes me dislike this hire right off of the bat, Joe.
Yeah, it's like going to a deli, Kev, right? And you say, give me a sandwich. And they give you a chicken salad sandwich, right? And you're like, can you no, I don't want chicken salad. It's just too bland. And can I get something else? And they come back and they give you the sandwich and they basically give you just like a grilled cheese with tomato. It's the same thing. Mike McCarthy is nowhere different than Mike Tomlin has been over the last 5 or 6 years. Can I get some jalapenos in it? Can I get a chicken cutlet? Can I get something to spice it up? Can you put some chipotle sauce on there? What do we have? We just get just bland old Mike McCarthy. Bland old Mike McCarthy will go 10-7. He'll lose if he gets into the playoffs in the first round. They're scraping back old man Aaron Rodgers for another go round. What are we doing here? This organization was predicated on physicality, blue collar, dominant defenses, and we're going to go to Mike McCarthy that couldn't stop a nosebleed with the Dallas Cowboys. Are we serious? What are we doing here?
Man, people, when you tell the story of today, you won't tell that story without letting people know where you were when you heard Joe Lisi compare Mike Tomlin, Mike McCarthy, chicken salad sandwiches, and grilled cheese with tomato sandwiches, because that was a treat. I really can't focus on anything else.
Am I wrong? I got you. I know I got the juices flowing. You're thinking. I'm thinking about lunch too. But here's the thing.
I'm 2 corn muffins deep. Don't worry about that.
Here's
Don't
the
worry
thing.
about
Am
that.
I wrong? What has Mike McCarthy done in his tenure at Dallas that says again, I need that guy? I need to have him in my organization.
So here's what I don't understand.
It's the lesser of two evils. They messed up. Tomlin walks away, and the organization had no idea or where they didn't have any contingency plan in place to elevate this organization to the next level.
But here's the problem with that, Joe, is I think with Tomlin stepping away, right, it came with a couple of questions. And one of them was, hey, do we think Tomlin was like soft fired? You know, he's a legend of that organization. Do we think that they kind of let him go out on his own terms? And clearly the answer is no. Clearly they wanted Mike Tomlin back again because I think they probably made a hire that feels, Joe, very connected, right? A coach you can say, hey, I've won a Super Bowl, right? Been around the block. No reason to think I'll be awful, but also no reason to think I'll be spectacular. And that's the problem, is I actually think this was the worst kind of hire they could make. I'm not telling you that Mike McCarthy can't win 10 games next year. Mike McCarthy can win 10 games next year. It's that there, especially with now this meaning Rodgers is coming back, which I don't entirely understand. There's no reason to believe they can win a Super Bowl going into next season or the season following. They needed to reset. And it's like they robbed themselves the opportunity that Tomlin stepping down gave them. The Chris Shulas, the Brian Floreses, the Kubiaks, whomever you want, okay? Bringing in one of those guys and winning 4 games once, it's okay. It's okay. I really, truly believe the Steeler faithful would have been able to handle a losing season. I think, Joe, if you would have said, hey, power rank win total bands, okay? First, of course, would be, anywhere from 12 to 16. I think dead last would have been between 8 and 10. And that's what they signed up for.
They did, Kev. So let me ask you this. When you think of Pittsburgh, do you think Mike McCarthy embodies what the Pittsburgh Steelers are? We didn't think he embodied what the Dallas Cowboys were.
He embodies what they've been, which is
mediocre. Which is
exactly.
Middle of the road.
I can't believe that's what they went for.
But that's my point. So I would much rather, hear me out, take, again, a coach like, and I know this is going to sound crazy, but people, what? Brian Flores, that embodies at least what the organization was built on. Blue collar, defense, intensity. Okay, he didn't win in Miami, but you know what? Looking back, he wasn't wrong. Every assessment that he had on the, maybe he didn't go about it the right way, but his assessment about Tua not being the guy, correct. His assessment about the Dolphins players that he shipped out being soft were correct. His defenses are much better or physical, I would say, than Pittsburgh has been in critical matchups. Give me that guy that's still now on his second go-round of being a head coach is going to show better than a guy that's at the end of his career that is just happy to have a job.
But I'll say this. McCarthy doesn't come with the same Tomlin floor, or maybe even a defensive first guy floor. Mike McCarthy's quarterbacks were Aaron Rodgers and Dak Prescott. And listen, I'm not the biggest Dak fan in the world, but Dak can win. If he's healthy, Dak can win games in the regular season. And this is going to be the worst quarterback play Mike McCarthy has dealt with, like whether it's Rodgers or not. We're going to find out more from NFL insider Adam Kaplan next.
Sure, you could say the punt block is a key play in the game. It was.
It was.
But the signature play of last night's game is the John Elway-esque diving sideways into the end zone. There's a picture of it right there. To effectively win the national championship. That dude's a baller.
The Craig Carton Show. Only on SportsGrid.
I'll tell you what, guys. The insider scam is like the best insider scam in the business of, like, in the history of television. They don't know anything until their phone gets the text message in which the deal is done, right? We saw this with Quinn Hughes. We were told, he wants to play with his brothers. He wants to play with his brothers. Now they're saying that he wanted to be traded to Detroit. In other words, just say you don't know.
In-game live, only on SportsGrid.
Hold on a second, though. You believe that Mike McDaniel is not head coach caliber?
No.
There's a lot of evidence that says Cliff Kingsbury is not either.
That's fine that you believe that. But here's the thing. There's
more. Hold on a second.
Hang on. Go ahead.
Mike McDaniel has a better resume than Cliff Kingsbury.
He does on paper, but he's not a locker room guy.
Well, is Cliff?
Game time decisions. Only on SportsGrid.
Meanwhile, Charlie Baker of the NCAA has planted his flag. He wants to see the end of prediction markets and, of course, is a little bit nervous with all of the different stories that we've heard surrounding sports betting allegations of some folks being corrupt out there and maybe some point shaving. It does make some sense here. I just wonder which of the sports betting operators are going to stand with the NCAA.
Newswire. Only on SportsGrid.
All right, let's get into it here. Pro Football Today. Kevin Walsh, Joe Lisi. We're now joined by NFL insider Adam Kaplan. So many questions, Cap, that we can go over with this crazy coaching cycle. I want to start with where Joe and I left off. Pittsburgh, Mike McCarthy. I'll leave it to you. What have you heard and what went into this decision by the Pittsburgh Steelers?
Yeah, look, it's nice that he's from Pittsburgh. That's an extremely small factor. They like his history of working with quarterbacks, offensive football. And the thing is, now this is where people don't quite understand. McCarthy, it's about running the football first with him. In fact, he talked about that in Dallas. People would peg him for a passing game and his concepts. No, it actually starts with a run with him. He had no chance to get the job unless he believed in the run game, and he does. Now, I heard what you guys are saying. Because, Joe, if you look at McCarthy's last 2 years with the Cowboys, and his final 2 years with the with the Packers, within that, you've got 4 losing seasons, okay, out of his 18. He only had 5 losing seasons out of 18. But you don't like the fact that it sort of ended poorly with him in Green Bay. It kind of crashed and burned, and then you saw what happened in Dallas. Now, the thing with McCarthy was, having him be a lame duck coach, letting his contract run out, it's just bizarre. Letting him to go in the last year of his contract not extending is typically not done. But it is hard to win in Dallas, guys. I know you could say what you want, more winning than losing in Dallas for him. But I think, Joe, what you're talking about, what the fans are talking about, that it's clear in social media. You want to be inspired by a coach, someone who's, okay, sure, he won a Super Bowl, but somebody who's probably younger. I will tell you that the belief around the league was if they were willing to wait, Chris Shula probably could have gotten that second interview and gotten the job in person, but they didn't want to wait. I don't know why they wouldn't wait for Chris Shula, who was kind of first up. That, as I told you guys at the time, this is a guy that they did research on, they really liked. But this is not kind of Steeler-like in terms of being a little bit more patient. I'm a little surprised they didn't wait for Chris Shula or Clint Kubiak or somebody like that. Now, Kubiak, by the way, is a fascinating name. He's brilliant. But the thing with him, guys, is he's the Seahawks offensive coordinator, by the way, for those who don't know. His thing is presence and command. That was the knock on Kellen Moore, who's now the Saints head coach. That's going to be a key for Clint Kubiak, whether it's this cycle or in a future cycle, how well he comes off in interviews.
Cap, I just want to ask one question, because you're absolutely right. The last 2 years in Green Bay and the last 2 years in Dallas were not winning seasons. and this isn't like a ready-for-made team. Isn't that another concern? Like that McCarthy's at the end of his career, and there needs to be a major rebuild with younger talent. Tomlin got rid of some of the younger guys, including George Pickens. Is that a concern for this organization?
Yeah, Tomlin, just for the record, Tomlin didn't have personnel control. That's Omar Khan, the general manager, but Tomlin also has a say in it. So, look, McCarthy is 62 years old. It's not like he's 70. Belichick's in his 70s, and clearly not the same coach he once was with New England, which is probably why Bill's not back, and you know what happened with the quarterback situation in New England. But when you look at the situation with Pittsburgh, they don't look at it as a rebuild. They look at it retooling. They need help opposite Metcalf at receiver. There's no question about that. Something happened to the back end of their defense last season, I'm told, where the communication was terrible. You should know, Joe, it was Tomlin's defensive scheme that they've been running for many years. And they had real problems on the back end. So they don't, from talking to the Steelers, they don't think it's a rebuild at all. They don't think it's close to it. There's certain areas where they need to be better. Number 2 receiver, it was a major problem this season. There's no question about it. A little bit on their offensive line, but defensively, they think they're there. They really do. They think they're there. They could use probably another corner because you remember they cut Darius Slay, but no, they think they're still a good football team. But on your point, why don't you get someone younger who brings a little new energy in? That's where you're going. And I agree with you.
So, Cab, it's funny. Your age sometimes depends on the job you have. Someone who is ancient in terms of quarterbacks, but would be younger on the coach side is Phillip Rivers, who is getting interviews, right? At least in Buffalo. We've seen some reports, by the way, that Josh Allen is, I don't know. I mean, might as well be naming the head coach here. What are you hearing around the Phillip Rivers situation specifically?
Yeah, so owner Terry Pagula, he wanted Josh Allen involved. Now, Brian Daboll is definitely a key candidate of interest. He already interviewed. This guy that's really well respected in their building because of the work he did with Josh Allen. But they're casting a wide net. Brandon being the GM made it clear he knew about the reports out there, but they are looking at a lot of people, including Phillip Rivers. So why Phillip Rivers? It's kind of the fiery nature of the way that he played. He has been a high school coach. Yes, he's never coached the National Football League or even college football. But you have to remember, guys, Josh McCown was a guy that was a runner-up, really, at one point for one of the Texas head coaching searches over the years. He didn't wind up getting it, but his interview was so good talking to someone close to the situation. They were like, look, if it doesn't work out for us, maybe someday we'll look at him. And obviously it's worked out pretty well with D'Amico Ryans. But you want to get in front of a guy like Phillip Rivers, see how he presents himself. What's his plan? Not only for the quarterback, what's his staff going to look like? Who does he know? Who does he not know? You want to get in front of him. Now, and by the way, let's say they hire somebody else. Who's to say the new head coach doesn't want Phillip Rivers on their staff? Most people haven't thought about that, but that was actually mentioned to me with the coach over the weekend. Because you with Rivers, he's a guy you want to get in front of. Tremendous leader, superhuman being. Everyone's seen the NFL film stuff with him wired up. I mean, I know it's a little bit unorthodox and it's certainly surprising, but I give the Bills credit. They had an odd week. Let's call it like it is. With Pagula and Bean speaking, their press conference was a little different. But I like that they're casting a wide net. Why not do that?
Yeah, I think it makes sense. Cap, I don't know if you have time to stick around after this segment to talk about some of the games. If you do, that'd be great.
Sure.
That all right, awesome. I want to then just kind of make a point to something that you, I think, very appropriately told us at the beginning of this cycle, is that it was not a great cycle, especially as it related to offensive names. And I think what we're seeing, though, are still these organizations, they love the chance to get an offensive guy. I mean, it's why pretty much anybody who's ever met Sean McVay gets an interview during these cycles. And it's why Phillip Rivers is clearly a part of this conversation, Cap.
Sure. Look, again, it's Jesse Minter gets a job. Why wouldn't Baltimore consider someone from the offensive football side of the football strongly? But they didn't. But yeah, you're right. That's part of it. That's another reason why Rivers got to look. You're absolutely right.
All right, we're going to get Cap's thoughts on today's conference championship matchups after a quick commercial break right here on Pro Football Today.
Sure, you could say the punt block is a key play in the game. It was.
It was.
But the signature play of last night's game is the John Elway-esque diving sideways into the end zone. There's a picture of it right there. To effectively win the national championship. That dude's a baller.
The Craig Carton Show. Only on SportsGrid.
I'll tell you what, guys. The insider scam is like the best insider scam in the business of, like, in the history of television. They don't know anything until their phone gets the text message in which the deal is done, right? We saw this with Quinn Hughes. We were told, oh, he wants to play with his brothers. He wants to play with his brothers. Now they're saying that he wanted to be traded to Detroit. In other words, just say you don't know.
In-game live only on SportsGrid.
Hold on a second, though. You believe that Mike McDaniel is not head coach caliber?
No.
There's a lot of evidence that says Cliff Kingsbury is not
That's
either.
fine that you believe that. But here's the thing.
There's more. Hold on a second.
Hang on, go ahead.
Mike McDaniel has a better resume than Cliff Kingsbury.
He does on paper, but he's not a locker room guy.
Well, is Cliff?
Game time decisions. Only on SportsGrid.
Meanwhile, Charlie Baker of the NCAA has planted his flag. He wants to see the end of prediction markets and, of course, is a little bit nervous with all of the different stories that we've heard surrounding sports betting allegations of some folks being corrupt out there and maybe some point shaving. It does make some sense here. I just wonder which of the sports betting operators are going to stand with the NCAA.
Newswire. Only on SportsGrid.
Okay, Pro Football Today here on SportsGrid. We are joined by NFL insider Adam Kaplan. And Cap, we talked some coaches, but I do want to talk about these games here and get your insight, what you're hearing and what you're thinking about these matchups. I'll start in the AFC with the Broncos and the Patriots, of course. So many people focused in on the fact that it's Jarrett Stidham starting this game and not Bo Nix.
Yeah, 2019 fourth-round pick with the Patriots, ironically, drafted by Belichick. And so a couple things, and we'll get to the Patriots. But on Stidham, because this is obviously a huge story, I find it fascinating that the number, depending on which book you looked at, was the Patriots were -5.5. The money clearly is going the other way because the line has dropped, again, depending on which book you look at, from -5.5 to -3.5, because clearly the books, they want to move the money. They want to kind of even it out. So clearly a lot of money now is coming on the Broncos because they're only getting 3.5 now, which I think is bizarre to me. He hasn't started a game in 2 years. His starts weren't great. He's got above average arm strength, good size. He tends on holding the ball a little bit too long. The one thing you're going to watch in this game is the Patriots' ability to get to him, to make him rush himself, because when you haven't played at that quarterback position, it's extremely difficult to get your timing down. You know, it's one thing with Nick Foles, who had the magical end of the season for 2017. It wasn't as though he didn't play. He did play late in 2017 regular season, then through the playoffs, where Stidham hasn't started a game in a while. So that's a little bit of a problem for me. Matchup to watch. This is the key to the game for the Patriots winning. Patriots left tackle Will Campbell. They gave up a lot of pressure last week. 5 sacks last week just to the edge rushers for the Texans. Campbell, he's got shorter arms, pretty good athlete, came off IR a couple weeks ago. Watch Nick Bonito, the star edge rusher for the Broncos, lining up over him. If Campbell holds his own, the Patriots are going to win this game handily. If they give up a lot of pressure, the game's going to be tighter here. And by the way, it's supposed to be windy. Check those forecasts. It's supposed to be windy during the game. But overall, I still see the Patriots winning this game and cover the number. But they cannot let Stidham get off to a good start. Do not let him build his confidence, or this could be closer than you think.
Yeah, we'll see how it plays out. Cap, I do want to just ask, because we had Doc on last week talking about the Bo Nix situation, and he thought it was very ironic that, not that Sean Payton came out and made the diagnosis, but that he was already scheduled for surgery. They didn't even look for a second opinion. It came out basically within an hour of the game ending. I mean, what did you hear about how that situation played out? I know Peyton said he didn't want to wait until Monday to tell everyone, but why did they make such a quick decision about surgery?
Oh, it gets them ready for the off-season program. I mean, when you have surgery for a broken ankle, you're looking at 8 to 12 weeks, probably closer to 12 weeks. So, yeah, it's his right ankle, which is even, remember, he's a right-handed thrower, so he steps with his left and rolls with his right. So it's going to be a little bit longer because he's a right-handed quarterback. But when it happened, it was kind of interesting because I don't know how the heck he did as well as he did. We know he hurt it late in the game, but you got to give him his ups for doing what he did. And in fact, Joe said he didn't even know he broke it until the testing came back. So, Luke Wattenberg, we need to mention this. Their starting center is back off IR. They activated him yesterday. One more one. This is huge for New England. Matt Collins, who won a Super Bowl with the Eagles in 2017, not just a really good special teams player. He is their best deep threat for the Patriots. That is the one thing that someone close to the situation told me. That's the one thing they were missing when he was on IR. And Drake May is a very aggressive thrower. That is going to be very interesting to see if they're able to take some shot plays to get today with Drake May and Mac Hollins.
Cap, what are you looking for in the NFC Championship game? A lot of talk around Sam Darnold versus Matthew Stafford.
Yeah, and look, one thing you need to know about Darnold is he took way more work with the starting unit this week than he did last week, where he really didn't until their walkthrough. So he's able to get better timing down. That game, I'll tell you what, man, that game when they played at LA, they dominated that game. Darnold turned it over 4 times. The thing about Darnold is he's kind of like a lot of quarterbacks. When you put it on him, sometimes he implodes. And the Rams kind of know how to handle him. You make him hold on to the football, and he freezes up. He doesn't know where to go with it. That's what you want to do. Charles Cross, by the way, will play today. Their left tackle for the Seahawks. He's got a foot injury. He's actually had a couple injuries. That's big. But the thing is, the Rams come in. Everyone's just available except for Rob Havenstein. The right tackle is still in IR. He just started practice this week. But the Rams are a little bit healthier. I like the Rams to win this game. I know they're a little bit of a dog here. I like them to win this game, though. They're a little bit better. And the Rams have shown me, though, they can win anywhere. And they've got a pretty good sort of road mentality. I like them in this game.
Really excited to watch this all play out. It should be a fun day of football. The NFL Insider, Adam Kaplan, here on SportsGrid. Cap, we appreciate it a ton. Joe and I are going to get back to both of these games after a quick break. Keep it right here on SportsGrid.
Sure, you could say the punt block is a key play in the game. It was.
It was.
But the signature play of last night's game is the John Elway-esque diving sideways into the end zone. There's a picture of it right there. To effectively win the national championship. That dude's a baller.
The Craig Carton Show. Only on SportsGrid.
I'll tell you what, guys. The insider scam is like the best insider scam in the business of, like, in the history of television. They don't know anything until their phone gets the text message in which the deal is done, right? We saw this with Quinn Hughes. We were told, he wants to play with his brothers. He wants to play with his brothers. Now they're saying that he wanted to be traded to Detroit. In other words, just say you don't know.
In-game live, only on SportsGrid.
Hold on a second, though. You believe that Mike McDaniel is not head coach caliber?
No.
There's a lot of evidence that says Cliff Kingsbury is not
That's
either.
That's fine that you believe that. But here's the thing. There's
more. Hold on a second.
Hang on. Go ahead.
Mike McDaniel has a better resume than Cliff Kingsbury.
He does on paper, but he's not a locker room guy.
Well, is Cliff?
Game time decisions. Only on SportsGrid.
Meanwhile, Charlie Baker of the NCAA has planted his flag. He wants to see the end of prediction markets, and of course is a little bit nervous with all of the different stories that we've heard surrounding sports betting allegations of some folks being corrupt out there and maybe some point shaving. It does make some sense here. I just wonder which of the sports betting operators are going to stand with the NCAA.
Newswire. Only on SportsGrid.
All right, with you here on SportsGrid, Kevin Walsh, Joe Lisi, Conference Championship Sunday, the New England Patriots against the Denver Broncos, the Seattle Seahawks playing host to the Los Angeles Rams. You take a look at these numbers here, and since the show has started, they've held for the most part, though one thing I have noticed, Joe, ticks up a little bit, some 46 out there in the market now on your Seahawks-Rams over-under.
Yeah, well, smart money, obviously, listening to the show, because I think that's a wheel play. I think we get into the 50. Look, I think both games in conference championship Sundays, I understand defense travels and you want to run the football. I'm not suggesting that shouldn't play out. But there's always the opportunity. If you have points, you don't have enough. So I always like to go over here. And again, we're not talking for the first game, high 40s. Second game, I think you're getting a discount based off of the performance by the Rams last week, which was a very cold weather environment. It was windy, it was blustery. You might have some cold in the forecast for the most part, in Seattle, but it's still balmy compared to what they played in last week.
So let's talk about game number one, Broncos-Patriots, 3.5, 4-point spread now with the move. Total in this game is 43.5. And I actually believe the Denver Broncos will win this game. I am somewhat invested in that. I played Denver stage of elimination before the postseason began to lose in the Super Bowl at, I believe, plus 550 was that number. And obviously, it is frustrating that they have to climb the mountain against New England here with Stidham as opposed to Bo Nix, where they would have been positioned as favorites. The one thing, if you did make that same bet that I did, the Super Bowl sets up well. You know that the spread is supposed to be north of a touchdown, regardless of who makes it out of the NFC, if Denver wins this game. Why do I think Denver is going to win this game? A few reasons. I think they have the better coach. I think Mike Vrabel was christened NFL Coach of the Year a little too early in the season. And I'm not saying he's an undeserving candidate. I don't think he would have been my winner. And I think Sean Payton was under-discussed. Sean Payton has a quarterback that not a lot of people believe in Bo Nix. And yet they were the number one seed in the AFC and knocked off Patrick Mahomes and the Kansas City Chiefs to win that AFC West. And they literally did knock them off in their building. And that really was, I think, what fully flipped the Chiefs season on its head. And Sean Payton having to go to war here again, with projected subpar quarterback play is something I'm comfortable with, because I think he has situations down. I think he knows when to be aggressive. I think he knows when to keep it inside the numbers, if you will. But what works so well for Denver in this game is they have one of, if not the best offensive lines in football. And this is a Patriots pass rush that has been feasting. There's no bigger difference for New England than the offensive lines they've enjoyed going up against in the first two matchups and what they will see today. And I think that'll make life far more difficult on this New England defense than they are necessarily expecting it to be. And I think offensively for New England, they play a defense that will be the best they've seen yet. Not wildly better than Houston, but with the game being in Denver, I actually don't think the Chargers defense is in the class of Houston or Denver. I know they have some good numbers. I don't think it's in the class. And we have seen a Patriots offense struggle to protect Drake May. We have seen Drake May struggle to protect the football. He has never played a road playoff game. And I think that it puts the Patriots up against it. I think this is an under. I think it's a clean under, personally. I know you don't agree with that. That's fine. I think this game could finish 20-10 Denver, all in all. The Patriots have scored 16 points against the Chargers and 21 offensive points against the Texans. Now, on the road against this Denver defense, I think it's lower than that, Joe. I think the Broncos win this game. I think it's an under.
Yeah, I mean, you bring up great points. It wouldn't shock me if we get an under, and it's going to come down to, can Jarrett Stidham potentially answer the bell, not turn the football over? And I told this to Donnie yesterday, and I'll say it again. The biggest drop-off potentially for Stidham from Knicks is not just yards. It's when they get, or if they get into the red zone, can they complete and score touchdowns as opposed to being held to field goals? Because the biggest thing, too, with Bo Nix is you get his mobility. And I understand Stidham is somewhat mobile, but he's not as mobile as Bo Nix. Bo Nix rushed for 29 yards last week on Buffalo. He put his team and always puts his team in the potential on 3rd and 4th downs to sustain drives with his legs if need be. Are you going to get that with Jarrett Stidham? So those are all the factors, Kev, of why this game could go under. I'm just going in the fact of, I believe in Sean Payton. I believe that Sean Payton in the first 15 to 20 plays of this game is very aggressive, just the way he was last week against Buffalo. They got right down to the red zone on the first drive. They settled for a field goal. They're going to have to score points. They cannot just play basically counterpuncher and rope-a-dope up against Drake May in this offense. You're not going to win that game. So the fact that you are at home and you do have the benefit of the better defense potentially, be more aggressive with the backup to see if you could jump up early, and that's why I like the over. I lean to Denver with the points, but I like the over more.
I think, Joe, though, and listen, I know you call for a lot of these teams to play aggressive, but a hot start for Denver does not mean, and I know you don't like this, but it doesn't really matter. Joe, they could score 17 points in the first half and finish that game with 20 points. Yeah, they put their foot on the brake in the second half against Buffalo. And you're going to be sitting there at that TV screen, I just keep throwing. And they're not going to do it. And they're not going to do it.
Again, you have it all figured out. You have the answers before the test. Styles make fights. All right, I'm going to be texting you later.
Tell me, I know. No, that's fine.
You got nowhere to go. Fine. You got nowhere to go. I backed you into a corner this weekend.
Yeah,
you got nowhere to go.
Pretend. I'm running some errands. Props wise, who are you really excited about in this game? Actually, no. No. Who's someone else you're excited about in this game? We know Trevion. Who else you looking at in this game?
Evan Ingram.
Could be anyone.
Evan Ingram.
No, come on.
I took Evan Ingram. He's plus 50 to 1. 50 yards is plus 5-6.
50 to 1 to what? Catch a ball?
No.
Really? Come on. 20 and a half yards. How many times has he gone under that number in a row?
Every game knows how to utilize that time.
Most receiving yards for the tight end. He's not even on the – come on.
Yes,
no, there he is. Oh, my gosh. I thought Elijah Arroyo had better odds. He shouldn't even be on this list. I'd take Higbee over Evan Ingram. What's that Higbee number? Higbee could be live today.
Okay. It's going to be Terrence Ferguson at plus 750.
Man,
That's the guy.
Maybe.
All right. You keep laughing.
20 and a half. You might have a buy low. He cleared that number in 3 straight in the regular season.
Speaking into fruition, once I hit the Trevion numbers, I'm rolling. I'm rolling the portfolio into Terrence Ferguson.
Pop that tight end guy up there for me. Hunter Henry. Yep, makes Joe's card. AJ Barner definitely makes his card. Parkinson, too popular. Ferguson, basically his cousin. Ingram, basically his brother. Higbee, not so much. I know you have Austin Hooper tickets hidden.
No, not this week. No, I had him last week.
No, you do.
Had him for a touchdown.
I know you do.
Let me down.
I know.
No, I don't. Not today. I don't.
What about Troutman? No Troutman?
Nah.
What about Troutman?
Too many people on him.
Is that how you make your bets? Do you just go to the most receiving yards tight end and then figure out which guys you like? Really? That's not bad. All right, here on Tight End Grid. We'll be right back. Pro Football Today.
Sure, you could say the punt block is a key play in the game. It was.
It was.
But the signature play of last night's game is the John Elway-esque diving sideways into the end zone. There's a picture of it right there.
Yeah.
To effectively win the national championship. That dude's a baller.
The Craig Carton Show. Only on SportsGrid.
I'll tell you what, guys. The insider scam is like the best insider scam in the business of, like, in the history of television. They don't know anything until their phone gets the text message in which the deal is done, right? We saw this with Quinn Hughes. We were told, oh, he wants to play with his brothers. He wants to play with his brothers. Now they're saying that he wanted to be traded to Detroit. In other words, just say you don't know.
In-game live only on SportsGrid.
Hold on a second, though. You believe that Mike McDaniel is not head coach caliber?
No.
There's a lot of evidence that says Cliff Kingsbury is not
That's
either.
fine that you believe that. But here's the thing. Here's the thing.
There's more. Hold on a second.
Hang on, go ahead.
Mike McDaniel has a better resume than Cliff Kingsbury.
He does on paper, but he's not a locker room guy.
Well, is Cliff?
Game time decisions. Only on SportsGrid.
Meanwhile, Charlie Baker of the NCAA has planted his flag. He wants to see the end of prediction markets and, of course, is a little bit nervous with all of the different stories that we've heard surrounding sports betting allegations of some folks being corrupt out there and maybe some point shaving. It does make some sense here. I just wonder which of the sports betting operators are going to stand with the NCAA.
Newswire. Only on SportsGrid.
Pro football today. Kevin Walsh, Joe Lisi, Rams Seahawks. As much as I want to keep talking tight ends with Joe, I think we should talk a little Rams Seahawks here. 2.5 point number. I feel like I don't know who you like to win this game. I think you're going to end up on Seattle.
No. You think so? You think I'm going to be?
I don't know.
I lean to LA. I don't
Feels like
love it.
You might fade yourself.
I don't love it. I love the totals more than I love the sides in these games. But again, the Rams are the more experienced team in this situation. And again, betting the Seattle side is Sam Darnold doesn't screw up and the defense closes the door and forces and wins the turnover battle. That might happen. But I just can't buy into the fact that Darnold isn't at one point going to potentially throw the game away or turn into a pumpkin before midnight in this game. And again, I know it's 3 straight road games. I know LA hasn't covered, but I still got to go with the veteran team and the better quarterback, and that's Stafford. But again, that aside, my best bet is the total. I think we get points aplenty. I don't think there's any shot that McVay is complacent in this game. There's too many reasons. He has the better quarterback. They came out flat potentially last week. He already called out his play calling and said he needs to be better. And oh, by the way, you said it yourself. Darnold, you believe is not 100%. So why would I play right into Seattle's strength and shorten the game when I know I have the more explosive offense?
Yeah, I think that is fair. I want to get a Joe Lisi breakdown on what I think is maybe important, maybe not. Sean McVay. Yeah. It was his birthday yesterday. How does that factor into this game?
Nothing. I don't.
Doesn't mean anything.
I mean, maybe. I mean, maybe he wants to show out. I think he's more aggressive. I think I looked at points.
Oh,
I mean, that doesn't make me want to jump in on.
Kidding me. You gotta be. You think when he blew out his candles, he was to. I hope this game goes over. Maybe Evan Ingram for 40.
Yeah.
You think that's what he did?
Yeah. Throw to Ferguson. Yeah. Dial up some. Yeah. I mean, I don't. Why you think his birthday wish with his model wife? He was saying, "I hope we win this game." It's so like vanilla.
I don't know. Maybe he was secretly out partying. He's a young guy. We don't know. Could have been out on a town.
Who knows? Would it shock you if he bet Stafford to lead all the passers this weekend? I'm just saying.
It would shock me. It would shock me. I mean, truly, legitimately would stun me if he was.
I was being sarcastic.
No. Well, well,
maybe.
Where are you?
70-30 to the no.
I do like the Los Angeles Rams in this game. I think the Rams are the better of these two teams. And I don't think home field advantage means nothing. I think it's maybe move this line a little much, but I actually don't think it's home field advantage that's responsible. I think it's what we've seen from these two teams so far in the postseason. I think it's the fact that the Seahawks played a game and they won it 41-6. And I think it's the fact that the Rams have played twice and they haven't covered in either matchup. And not covering on the road at Carolina was sloppy. Defensively, they didn't show up. And Stafford at late had to bail him out. But he did. And against the Chicago Bears, they were disjointed. Again, I've said this, following that game. I think the Rams are a little soft. And I think getting into the cold weather really bothered them. But they pulled it out. They made enough plays. And you notice that if this game's going to be tight, which it has been when they've played, which it projects to be, they're going to be comfortable. But I think only one of these teams is capable of blowing the other out. And that's the Rams blowing out the Seahawks, which they were en route to doing prior to that Rashid punt return touchdown. So for me, I expect Stafford to be really good in this game. I expect Puka Nacua to be spectacular in this football game. And I think the Rams score touchdowns more than, Seattle, who might be settling for field goals. The game feels, I'm not as married to a final score. 28-17, 28-20, 31-20 if I'm being generous. You know what I mean? But it's one of those games where I think the Rams dictate it, and I think they dictate it by allowing the likely soon-to-be MVP to throw, and throw again.
Yeah, I mean, again, Kev, I said it time and time again. If I'm the Rams, I want to go in aggressive. And again, it really will put the pressure on Seattle, something that San Francisco couldn't do. Think about that game last week. They open up with the kickoff, 99 yards, and you're dead and buried. They're checked out.
Mm-hmm.
They were not in that game, San Fran, right from the get-go. They came out flat. They did. And Shanahan, I thought, called a terrible game plan. I really did. Do we expect that to be the case with McVay and a team that just had a lackluster win, you could say, against a defense that's nowhere near what Seattle is? So, the argument will be, well, there you go, advantage Seattle, and that's why they're 2.5-point favorites. If they couldn't really move the football consistently against Chicago, how are they going to do it against Seattle? Well, you could do it a number of different ways. You could do it with tempo. You could do it with utilizing your playmakers, Devontae Adams and Puka. You could get them on the bubble screens like they do early and then take shots vertically. I know that LA's offense is capable of that with Stafford at the helm. What I don't know is, one, to your point, if Darnold's 100% healthy. Again, I don't think he's 60, but 85, 90 still gets me the total because, again, if they're playing from behind, throw the rushing attack out the window.
Yeah, I think we could end up in that spot, and it's why, I've got Jackson Smith and Jigba involved in some of these numbers, especially because JSN is coming off of, this nothing performance. That wasn't his fault. It was just the game script. He still found the end zone, three catches, 19 yards and a score, and he will be featured in our next segment as we will give you our best bets and our sell me something as we send you off into Conference Championship Sunday. All coming up, and it's right here on SportsGrid.
What is going on with this John Morant saga? Right? Joe's on the block. Joe wants to be traded. But now Joe comes back and he denies all trade talk and says John says he has no desire to play elsewhere. So he shut it down. He's still viewed as a franchise centerpiece when on the floor. Memphis, they're better with him.
Pro Basketball Today, only on SportsGrid.
The Buffalo Bills have to find a new head coach. Take a look at the leaders right now. A 33% chance Brian Dable takes that job. You say, well, why? Wait a second here. He's the head coach of the New York Giants. Did you know he came from the Buffalo Bills and basically resurrected Josh Allen on that MVP trajectory while he was with the Buffalo Bills? Clay Kubiak, Joe Brady, Davis Webb, all offensive guys, which I agree with.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
Sure, you could say the punt block is a key play in the game. It was.
It was.
But the signature play of last night's game is the John Elway-esque diving sideways into the end zone. There's a picture of it right there. To effectively win the national championship. That dude's a baller.
The Craig Carton Show, only on SportsGrid.
Hold on a second, though. You believe that Mike McDaniel is not head coach caliber?
No.
There's a lot of evidence that says Cliff Kingsbury is not
That's
either.
fine that you believe that. But here's the thing. Here's the thing.
There's more. Hold on a second.
Hang on. Go ahead.
Mike McDaniel has a better resume than Cliff Kingsbury.
He does on paper, but he's not a locker room guy.
Well, is Cliff?
Game time decisions, only on SportsGrid.
Pro Football Today on SportsGrid, wanting all of you to stay safe out there during this snowy Sunday. We, of course, are happy to be with you heading into Conference Championship Sunday. Kevin Walsh and Joe Lisi. Joe, we've got our best bets lined up here. We've got Sell Me Something lined up here. What do you got for me?
Well, best bet, I've said it all show. I'm not backing down. Over in LA and Seattle, Kev, I believe we got points aplenty. I'm seeing 45.5s in the market. Juice slightly at minus 115. I think we can get into the 50s. I took it up to 53.5. Alt, I think Stafford eats. I think LA eats. And I think they push the tempo. And Seattle, I still think is good for at least 21 to 24. This game could resemble what we had on that primetime Thursday night, 39-38.
I will be rooting it in for you. The one thing about you and I, maybe because we spend too much time together, is, hey, are we really going to get double over? We're really going to get double under? So maybe we go gentleman's agreement here, except I know that you will have your fingers crossed behind your back, and you'll be rooting against my best bet, which is the under 43.5 Patriots Broncos. I honestly cannot believe this total. So the point spread dropping has all then been filtered back into this over climbing. And I just think it's a misread on what this game is about. I think Denver winning this game isn't because Jarrett Stidham is actually going to throw for 275 and 2. That's not what I would have expected if Bo Nix was playing in this game. I think this total actually looks similar to, if not maybe even still a little bit high, if Bo Nix was available in this game. This is a Denver defense that will be lifted by the absence of Bo Nix, because sometimes that's what you do when you know a game is on you, when you know you are responsible for getting the win. And it's a Broncos defense that's in a bit of a bounce back spot, as they had it taken to them last week by that Buffalo Bills offense, especially that rush attack. And I think New England could come out conservative in this game, fearful that May and his fumbles and turnovers are the only way they could lose. And I think the rush attack for New England could struggle to get going. If I'm wrong about Denver winning the game, I don't think it's because I was wrong and they lost the shootout. I don't think this finishes 37-30 Pats. Again, tip of the cap if it does. I know Lisi will be ecstatic, but I think this is a lower scoring football game, maybe 2010 either way.
Yeah, it's a good look. I know about like I totally get the defense taking it upon themselves with Big Bad Bo Nix out of that lineup. It's like what I do on Saturdays when you're not there. I feel like I have to take the show on because you know what I'm saying. I have to pick up everybody. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
like,
you do a great job. You do
know,
a great job.
because
You want to
you're
do?
not
You
driving the
sell me
bus.
something?
Sure, why not? You ready?
Here we go.
You sitting down? All right, 554 to 1. Rashid Shaheed, that never gets a look. We know about him in the rushing attack and kickoff returns. How about we throw him the football, Sam Darnold? 50 plus for Rashid Shaheed. Terrence Ferguson plus 750. Okay? All right? Ferguson 50 plus. You heard Cap talk about Big Bad Matt Collins. 50 plus for him. And oh, by the way, the cherry on top, Evan Ingram for 50 plus. No touchdowns. They just got to get 50 yards, man. 554 to 1.
If they let me, and they offered alt unders, I would be taking each of them under in a parlay, as that would just be such a fun game to play. But I'll be rooting you in, pal. I really will.
Well,
I went for 300 yards, if you will, on mine. All of them. All of them. All of them, I would say.
All right.
I took RJ Harvey for 60, Puka for 120, and JSN for 120. It's, basically 110 to 1. Is that all right for you?
Yeah, I mean, a little tempered.
A little light.
Down. Yeah.
A little light, a little conservative.
RJ Harvey for 60? I mean, 60 yards? I mean, all right.
Receiving.
Okay. When's the last time he had 60 receiving?
Oh, I didn't know you were going to go there. When was the last time Evan Ingram was at Ole Miss the last time he had 50 receiving in a game?
Beat Alabama. He beat Alabama.
Oh, well, then there we go. Never mind.
Bo Wallace.
Why didn't you lead with that? Why didn't you lead with that? Yeah. Let me just sneak this in here. I appreciate everybody today on Pro Football Today. I also appreciate everybody who's held it down over the last 2 days. Myself, my fiance, we lost one of our dogs, Callie. She was special and the love of our lives, and she loved the snow. So today, if you're at home with your dogs, your pets, play in the snow, love them, kiss them. Love you, Callie.
Class is in session. Today, let's talk about the teaser. A teaser is a multi-leg bet where you shift the point spread in your favor. You get better numbers, but every selection has to win. It doesn't matter what you bet if you don't have the insights. Tune into SportsGrid and get ahead of the class.
The Buffalo Bills have to find a new head coach. Take a look at the leaders right now. A 33% chance Brian Dable takes that job. You say, well, why? Wait a second here. He's head coach of the New York Giants. Did you know he came from the Buffalo Bills and basically resurrected Josh Allen on that MVP trajectory while he was with the Buffalo Bills? Clay Kubiak, Joe Brady, Davis Webb, all offensive guys, which I agree with.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
The outline for Koepka are fantastic. I think it's perfect. It is punitive, but it's fair. You've got to levy some sort of fine, so to speak, for defecting, and I think they've done a wonderful job of being equitable and punishing him a bit at the same time. I think Brooks ultimately wants to be playing with the best.
Newswire, only on SportsGrid.
It's just the fear that we had going on. And the players obviously were paid $10,000 to $30,000 per fix. But what this does is it hits at the core of the identity in the sport, especially in the modern day betting era.
College basketball today, only on SportsGrid.